So we're basically a specialist in transition management. So that includes projects, it includes crisis, and also plain interim. When I say projects, I mean things like performance improvement, some kind of change. It could be shutting down a division or growing an operation. Crisis could be turnarounds. We've done a number of turnarounds, and I know that's something you know a lot about. And interim is when there's a gap and somebody needs to keep the wheels moving, and we do some of that also. So XPM is about 20 years old in France and about 8 years old in India. We have 8 or 9 partners and some more partners soon. We're trying to grow it to about 20 partners as soon as possible. We have partners in Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore. We've been, okay, well, I should say we're part of the Will Group, which is comprised of like-minded companies. So Rassam in the UK, Management Angels in Germany, Norgestion in Spain. We have, there are also XPM affiliates in China and Singapore. And we've done work in a number of industries, including IT, steel, chemicals, some a little bit in pharma. But that's basically it. Our style is fairly entrepreneurial. Each of our partners is responsible for their own set of clients and business. And we have a talent pool in India. And Rohit, who's on the call, RMT, you can't see him, but he's there. Rohit has been building up our talent pool, which is now up to about 500 people in India. But globally, it's much, much larger. It's about 50,000 globally. So these are the people that we draw on for the projects. So that's my 2-minute introduction to XPM.
Excellent. Very impressive indeed. When I saw your corporate website, I was so impressed. Extremely nice, extremely impressive.
Thank you. So, Amala, over to you. You're on mute, Amal. No, Amal, you're on mute.
Amal is still on mute.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Robin. That was a very useful feedback that you gave us, and we need to work more on that as such for people to know that what we are doing. Just to introduce Robin, as such, my station with Robin has been what, close to more than 15 years now, you see, and right through when he was the managing director from ArcelorMittal Europe in Germany to when he came to India, Thomas Cook, SR, Suzlon, and now as the managing director of Caprihans. What I found in him was, and which I can share, and now that we are working very closely with the Leiden University for a program on transformation, is that his business thought leadership, you know, I think that comes out very strongly. And as an author of many books, which he has been doing in rapid succession, and he's a commentator of our times on transformation. As I see it, I can see the blush which Robin has, but then all that what I'm saying is very genuine. People say that, he speaks his mind. So I'm very fortunate to have with him having this session, and it will be a good start also for some of the other sessions that we will be having in future along with him as such. So with these words, I leave it to Robin to talk to our partners, and thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much for the kind comments, Amal. I'm supposed to talk about COVID and business and consultancy. I was wondering that should I start with COVID? Because so much is being talked about it. As we are having this webinar, I'm sure there must be some few thousands of webinars which are going on in the same time discussing the implication of COVID. Today, no discussions can take place without COVID for sure. But I want to make a little exception for the first few minutes. COVID is a done thing for 200 countries. Whether it depends upon which newspaper or magazine you're looking at. If it is New York Times, they are tracking 175 countries anytime. If you go to Google, and they are saying 200 countries are already affected. And just for information, World Trade Organization says there are 205 countries available in the world, so which means the whole world is affected. 7.5 billion population, with India is about 1.34 billion. Everyone is affected. That's a done thing. COVID has happened, and we will try to unravel the little mystery as I have understanding from COVID the way I can. But if for a moment, for the next few minutes, 7 minutes or so, or 8 minutes, let us subtract COVID from the world, from our canvas. That means if this chat which we are having was not happening on the 3rd week of April, what was happening in early February and January 2020, how we would have started. We would not have started with this COVID for sure, the black swan event. We would have started somewhere else. Why I want to start that way? I want to start that way because the moment COVID goes down, it has to settle. It will settle. 7 billion people are not going to die. That's for sure. It is going to settle. But the moment it is going to settle, that original canvas without the sprinkling of COVID issues would unravel in front of us. And we as consultants, we as businessmen, we as entrepreneurs, we as employees, we as partners are going to get impacted by that canvas without COVID. What's that canvas? And I would like to present myself, present in front of you, the canvas with 5 points. You are aware of it, but maybe you have not looked at the way I'm trying to explain to you now. The first canvas, not in order of priority. Some events have taken place in India over the last 2 years, specifically in terms of legal framework, the government thinking, and the entrepreneurial implication of those developments. Development number 1. Earlier, when an entrepreneur is to take a debt, they used to think that we have taken a debt, it's fine, and it's okay. If I am not able to pay the debt back, I'll go to the bank and ask them for restructuring. Restructuring is a wonderful word to say. It means that you give me new money to pay back my old money. It is called evergreening. Evergreening is a crime. When you borrow money of the people. You cannot evergreen that. You cannot say that, okay, Mr. Bank, you will now give me new money so that I will give you my own money. Not possible. Evergreening was a done deal in India. March 2016, it stopped. Mr. Raghuraman Rajan, who was RBI governor, and I don't want to give you the story. There's a wonderful story behind it as to why he got to know that there is this problem. And one day, perhaps I will tell you the story, which will take 7 to 8 minutes. Beautiful story, very interesting, of course. He identified that evergreening is a disease in India. Big entrepreneurs, taking debt of billions of dollars, they don't have the mindset to return the money because they know we are too big to fail. The banks, I will go back, banks will give me again new money to pay back the old money, and I will call it restructuring. That's gone, that's done. It's no more evergreening is possible in India. Number 2, a significant development which has happened in India is a law called Insolvency Banking Code, all of us know called IBC. We will say we are discussing COVID, why talk about IBC, a legal issue? Ladies and gentlemen, this IBC one law has changed the whole canvas of Indian entrepreneurship. We as consultants, more so for sure, it has changed completely. Why? IBC says that if you're taking a loan from the lenders, if you don't pay back in 90 days, if you are not paying your dues in 90 days, I'll give it 320 days more, 330 days more. I'll give it 330 days more. And within those 330 days, if you cannot settle with your bank, I will auction your company, which means I shall sell the company to whoever wants to take it. Which means the entrepreneurs now know that if the loans taken from the banks or from the lenders are not paid back, I cannot have this company anymore. I can't treat this as my father's company. No longer. The IBC has changed the way the business is done in India. That's the second development which has happened. The third development which has happened, and it has changed the canvas completely, is the introduction of GST, goods and service tax. As consultants, we know that it is fine. It is obviously it has come. Now, why am I mentioning this as a significant change in the way the Indians do business? It is because there were loads of businesses in India which were dependent upon tax arbitrage. What is tax arbitrage? Tax arbitrage is that if I have a competitor and my competitor has to pay 15% excise duty, I shall not pay the excise duty and make the 15% profit. This is the tax arbitrage. Unfortunately, the truth is that the large segment of the business in northern part of India conducted from Delhi and near about region were fully functioning on tax arbitrage concept. Ladies and gentlemen, this is gone. 90% to my mind is gone because of GST. 100% also will go because it's e-invoicing, of course, because of COVID, the invoicing regime has now got delayed. But once that comes into picture, this is going to change. What is going to happen is we are making the industry more accountable. From unaccountable India, we become an accountable India. From an unstructured India, we now become a structured India. This is what GST has done to all of us. The fourth change, and most of you or many of you will disagree with me, a change which has made India different from the world forever is demonetization. Demonetization, most of you will say, but it was unsuccessful. It was very badly run. Yes, of course, it was badly executed, but it does not mean the principle was bad. What was demonetization all about? Why is there so much of, let's say, criticism against it? If you open the newspapers, if you go back to the YouTubes or go back to the Google auntie, if I may say so, they will say that there were 18 lakh crore of currency in the market. 15 lakh crore of currency was high currency, and that 15 lakh crore was actually got demonetized. What happened? Almost a full 15 lakh came back. 15 lakh crore came back. So the demonetization failed. But yes, 15 lakh crore coming back doesn't mean demonetization fails, because if you see some people were saying that only 12 lakh crore will come back, 3 lakh crore was black money, and therefore the liability of the government will come down by 3 lakh crore and that will be income to the government. No, that's not true. Currency issued is a contingent liability, and a contingent liability writing back does not give any government any profit. So it would have been just that 12 lakh crore would have come back and contingent liability would have come down. So that doesn't happen. What has happened is that in the first 50 years of independence, or 60 years actually, the country has 130 crore population. We all know that. How many pays tax? Out of 130 crore population, how many pays tax in India? Income tax, I mean 1.5 crore. Post demonetization, ladies and gentlemen, this number of 1.5 crore has become 6.5 crore. What we could not do for 60 years, we did it in 2 years, actually 1 year. That's what the country did. So what happened is when the demonetization took place, when people came with giving money, the government has now got complete audit trail of who all deposited the money. If a person has deposited 5 lakhs, up to 5 lakhs, as you know, no question was asked. More than 5 lakhs, the government looked at, are they paying income tax? They asked a question, okay, you have paid 80 lakh rupees or 800 lakh rupees. From where did you get the money from? And And if it was not answered, the people had to then file their income tax returns. So essentially speaking, the country becomes more accountable. All those who now have 18 lakh crore, by the way, this 18 lakh crore currency has now become 21 lakh crore. Post demonetization number, the quantum of currency has actually gone up in the country, is all accounted for. The government knows from where and who has the money. There is an audit trail. There's a fourth development. And the fifth development, perhaps you as consultants would not be aware of. No, you are aware, but maybe you have not thought the way I'm thinking, is there's a new body which has come into the country called National Financial Regulatory Authority, called NFRA. In short, people call it NAFRA. What is NAFRA? NAFRA is a body, it's a body which oversees the chartered accountants of India. That means the chartered accountants signs a balance sheet. And if the balance sheet was with little frauds or they were incorrect, there was another chartered accountant body who used to look at the chartered accountant auditors, whether the balance sheets were correct or not. Today, there is a government body who oversees all audited balance sheet and profit and loss account. This is a sea change, ladies and gentlemen. Till, let's say, 1 year back, the quality of balance sheet profit and loss account of India was not given as adequate importance because they were not sure whether this balance sheet is correctly audited. Today, with the NAFRA coming in, the accountants have become so much more, let's say, concerned or more careful of writing and signing the right piece of paper. NFR is like a video camera. Just because there is a video camera, a thief would not like to come there, even if he or she does not know the video camera is working. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, 5 things. Evergreening has stopped. IBC has come in, which means if the loan is not paid, the company will be auctioned off. GST has come in, making the country accountable. Demonetization has come in. Again, the currency is now accountable, and NFRA makes our accounts, balance sheets of profit and loss account more credible and more acceptable to the international community. So this was my first 15 minutes painting of the canvas without COVID. And we as businessmen and consultants must remember that we will have this as an advantage as and when the world opens up, and India will have great advantage. The second information which I want to give you is that if you are looking at the month of February, which is just the month before COVID came into picture, which is March 2020, how do you get to know a country is doing well? You are all consultants. As you know, there is a Purchasing Managers Index, PMI Index. The Purchasing Managers Index in January 2020 was 55.3, highest in 7 years. Highest in 7 years, which can you can well imagine that the Indian purchase manager, the Indian businessmen were actually looking India as a great opportunity. It went down in the month of February to 54.5, I think, 54.5, which also is one of the highest ever. If you look at the last 7 years, 10 years graph, 55, as you know, any PMI index more than 50 is a positive sign. I wouldn't even like to see the PMI index in March because I'm sure it will be near 0. But having said that, that was the canvas before the spattering of COVID we have got. As and when the COVID moves up, we are going to get that canvas, that environment to manage and move forward. I would love to ask whether, is it clear for me? Are you guys okay with my way of English or the speed I'm going at? And if you're okay, then I could like to go move forward. Is it okay, Amal? So far? Okay, good. I know my topic is COVID and business, and most of it you all know. I'm not going to take coal to the Newcastle, but just few developments globally in terms of COVID. I just want to share certain things which I believe could be important for our decision-making processes. One, of course, all of us know that for the first time ever, the oil price has become negative. I will be happy to explain what it all means, what is a WTI index going to be, and what is Brent oil. Differences I can explain later. But the fact of the matter is, the oil you will be paid money to get oil. So that's one development which is going to change the way the world is going to be managed. One more information is the North Korean President Kim Jong-un's health. Likely he is going to die. He is apparently brain dead. It is the most dangerous country, as you know. It's the most dangerous country. In some form, the dangerousness was under control. If the president dies and if another mad person becomes the president, apparently it will be taken over by his sister or whatever, who knows who is going to take over, that could change the world significantly again. The good news, if you see the graph of the COVID, the coronavirus, all over the world, the graph is showing either a flattening tendency or a slight decline. Except US, you will see that graph is still not going down, and in some extent, France and UK. Otherwise, as I say, there are 200 countries of which Financial Times tracks 160, barring 3 countries or 4 countries, the big ones. Everyone is showing it is going down. That's the very good news, which means the world is not going to end, and most of us will survive. Climate change, therefore, is going to be a very important issue on our plate. Even madmen like Mr. Trump cannot isolate the issue of climate change. A huge opportunity we as consultants might emerge in this new era. If one more information, if the lockdown extends up to June, the global GDP is going to contract by 3%. And if the lockdown extends up to September, the global GDP is going to contract by 6%, which means, ladies and gentlemen, please assume 2021 is going to be a recession year in the world. We will have a recession. That with a 3%, 6%, 10%, 1%, million-dollar question. Another number which I want to tell you is that the WTO, the World Trade Organization, is saying this so-called COVID is going to reduce the world throughput of trade and commerce by between 15% and 35%. Actually, 13 and 33 is the exact figure they said, which means almost 1/5 to 1/3 of the global trade is going to shrink, which means ships are going to fly less, the planes are going to fly less, people are going to fly less and all that. Similarly, goods and commerce between the different countries are going to move less. And this is very important for us to understand, because this is something, an opportunity which will come in front of us. Having said that, therefore, how is the picture emerging? The picture is emerging that health will now precede wealth. Definitely. Health will now precede wealth, and again, an opportunity which will come. The businesses will go and move to the places where there is local resilience as opposed to global efficiency. People used to go to Africa, very efficient, low cost minerals. Of course, people used to go to China because everything is very cheap, but no longer. Global efficiency versus local resilience is going to be very important, because no one wants to fall sick anymore. And yeah, the whole world is now going to move towards a situation where there is going to be social support and medical health and social support, which means there will be so much of provident fund, healthcare, gratuity, those sort of Indian words, as you know, these are all Indian words, where money will be stashed away and kept for future looking after employees and people, and that's another opportunity for us in a big way. This is a global picture. Quickly, the India picture. It's 5-4-26. The India picture is the good news, and this is a figure till yesterday, 21st. And if you hear this recording, maybe after 7 days, it will be all bunker, because things are moving so fast. It's very difficult to give a figure at any particular point of time. But if I take the yesterday's number, perhaps you all know the way to look at coronavirus threat or risk is something called an RO factor, which is called a reproduction factor, which means for every one person affected, how many people can that person affect someone else? And this factor, when it started, it was 2.8. 2.8 was the auto factor. The good news is yesterday, that is 20th, actually not yesterday, day before yesterday, the auto factor has become 1.8, which means even in spite of an injection or a vaccination not having invented so far, the auto factors come down. That's a very good news. Just for information, the auto factor for influenza, very common influenza we have, it's 1.7. So to be very honest, and if I look at this number, the risk of coronavirus is as good or as bad as influenza, which is a very good news. It's a figure as of yesterday, and I hope this continues to tack on. And this is, by the way, this is the India. I'm talking 2.8 has become 1.1 point is India situation. So India, COVID looks to be under some control. It has flattened out. If you open the newspaper, there's all bad news. You will see, oh, Bombay is collapsing, Pune is collapsing, of course, but India as a whole, it seems that the curve does look much more flattened than what it used to be earlier. Therefore, the global scene and the Indian scene, I'm not going to give you anything else because everything all of us know, but we have to paint a picture. The way I paint the picture is the world has 7.5 billion population. India has about 1.3 billion. Or this whole population will yet need food, shelter, and clothing to eat and to service. Therefore, their needs are not going to go away. Someone has to meet it. Yes, a few lakhs are going to die. That's a fact. And that's not going to go away. So demand will still be there. However, there is going to be shift in the demand, huge shift. And that I'm sure as consultants and as business people, most of us know what the shift is going to be. I would now like to paint a little two pictures. One is how the shift in the Indian psyche is going to take place, how the shift is going to take place in the business behavior. In the Indian business side, what is going to take place is cash is going to be the foremost king. There were a lot of businesses, ladies and gentlemen, which was based on buying on cash and selling on credit. For instance, let us assume all of us know Reliance Petrochemical, and if you are a manufacturer, let's say plastics, and you are sourcing raw material from Reliance, which is the largest source, you had to pay Reliance upfront, advance payment. Whereas when you make the plastic sheets or whatever you make the plastic, you have to give 3 months credit, 6 months credit. This is going to change. This matter of not paying your vendors paying your vendors upfront or on time and not recovering money from the market, that's going to change. Which means that the working capital cycle in the world, especially in India, is going to shorten. People are going to do those businesses where money is going to come faster. So one change which is going to take place is that cash is going to become the emperor. We all know cash is the king. No. Cash is not the king. Cash is the emperor. And because cash is going to be the emperor, the way most of the businessmen or maybe all of them are going to look at completely differently. If the cash becomes emperor, what happens therefore? Two things happen. One, receivables, the debtors, as we call in English, the debtors structure is going to change. The creditor structure is going to change. That means the payables are going to change. We have to pay our vendors perhaps later and recover the money faster. The reverse has to happen now from most of the businesses. For instance, there is a good business. Unfortunately, the business is going to be affected because of coronavirus. Is restaurant business. Restaurant will buy on credit. They will buy their sourcing of raw material on credit, not pay the suppliers on time. But they will sell you and me a restaurant seat on cash. But those type of businesses will obviously now going to go up. Of course, restaurant will no longer be the business because of this COVID situation. What's going to happen to our behavior? That's going to be significantly changed. Of course, we all know Namaste everyone will do. Nobody is going to shake hands. And perhaps Namaste will remain forever, because coronavirus is not going to go away. It will be like a virus, like influenza, which will be there in our body, and we have to be used to having that in ourselves. So it's not going to go away. People are not going to travel for sure. It's going to be less traveling, less conferences, less eating out, and so on. So we all know. One change which will happen, ladies and gentlemen, is today the whole concept till, let's say, in January, if we were discussing, we would have discussed gig worker. What is gig workforce? The workforce which are temporary. The gig workforce might shrink significantly because people have to now be near the employment place rather than coming from a distance. This whole migrant labor is going to be a significant issue, which we'll be happy to discuss a little later. One change, not one change, two changes are going to happen. The trust in human beings are going to go down. The trust factor. The people are not going to trust a business as much as we used to trust earlier. Oh, he has purchased goods from me, he will honor his commitments. No, this force majeure law has now taken a new meaning. This is a fact of life. Force majeure is a fact of life now, and we will going to see lots of bankruptcies. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be an opportunity for us. Turnaround, bankruptcies. Unfortunately, we will also see lots of suicides. I will not go through the businesses which I believe are going to do well or not do well. Maybe all of you know, but a few I would just like to mention for sure. In my view, there are three businesses which are going to be winner. I have not read it anywhere. It is not in any newspaper. No one talks about it, but I think that three are very important. One is very common, everybody knows, that is health. Health is going to be obviously very important. Food is going to be very important business for tomorrow's, and education. Education is another area. One thing I missed in telling you, ladies and gentlemen, is the new era, the sourcing capital of the world will shift from China to India, ladies and gentlemen. It is going to shift to India, unless we screw it up, and we have the ability to do it also. So unless we do some major mistake, major screw up, India is going to be the sourcing source. Every child in this world knows this coronavirus has come from where. And therefore, the trust on China is not going to be the same anymore. And therefore, whatever were the sourcing abilities from these countries and whatever country advantage we have, health, food, and education is going to be a very important sector for us. And I'm happy to discuss later on that. Exports. Exports are not going to suffer too much. Contrary to the popular belief, there was a recent poll by ASSOCHAM, and they found that more than 45% of the exporters say, we are happy with what is happening. Rupee has already become 77, 78, so exports are not going to suffer. An important thing which is going to happen is infrastructure. Infrastructure will now have two sides of the story. Infrastructure, which is called CapEx, capital expenditure. CapEx by private firms are going to go down. If I was supposed to construct a steel plant, or if I was supposed to construct an aluminum plant, I'm not going to construct anymore. That's gone. CapEx is gone. But the government CapEx is going to go up 4 to 5-fold, 400 to 500%. It will go up. Government is going to build more roads. You know that on 20th April, there has been some relaxations in the society, as you know. The first decision the government said that metro work will start. The sea link in Bombay, I'm mentioning Bombay. The sea link work will start. The moment there is some opportunity, the government is going to invest its money in infrastructure because they know that's the easiest way to put money into people's pocket. So infrastructure obviously going up in steel, cement, and let's say PPE type of companies would do well. How can I speak to you guys to say what's opportunity for us? Great opportunity. Three places, my dear friends, we have. The biggest opportunity for you is turnaround. Every business, most businesses are going to collapse. And sabko isko turnaround karna hai. We have to now help them to turn around. I'm happy to explain to you how to turn around. That's another side of the story, but that's an opportunity which is going to come to us. Interim management, I'm going to see definitely more and more because people are going to get more cost conscious. So that's another good opportunity for sure. But one thing which I think you should add in your portfolio is risk management. No longer the world is going to not talk about risk-free atmosphere. Risk is now part of ourselves. And risk I'm telling you, this COVID risk will continue till we die. And therefore, the businesses have to be structured around risk management. Okay, I'm not going to talk about the businesses which are not doing to do well. That's fine. Happy to answer. But yes, banking company, bankers which has strong balance sheet, which will do significantly better, and bankers or companies which does not have a good balance sheet will either collapse or will go bankrupt. Mergers and acquisitions. Well, today morning we just heard Facebook investing in Reliance. That changes the story a little bit, but that's a small story. That's not much. Happy to explain what's the implication of Reliance. But Reliance, as you know, wanted to do a $15 billion transaction by asking Aramco to invest in Reliance India. Aramco, I don't think will invest anymore, but they got Mr. Facebook to invest about $7 billion. So they got half the money. Reliance just therefore survives. So, and price has gone up, not too much, but yes, they survive for the time being. So mergers and acquisitions are going to definitely slow down. Just for information, as you know, that every year the world has $2 trillion M&A. However, for the last 45 days, not a single transaction has taken place more than $1 billion, barring this Facebook investment in Reliance or Jio. IT sector is going to suffer because IT works for Europe and American clients. They will be very badly off. However, I think internal demand has to pick up, but in the short term, 6 months to 1 year, IT has a problem. I'm not going to tourism, airlines, all that, real estate. Obviously, they will be in some challenging times. It is 4:38. I've already taken, maybe I'll take 2 minutes more. I just want to sum up. How do I see the world moving? The world is now going to move to a situation where, everyone is talking about laissez-faire. The government must do their work and the private sector must do theirs. This laissez-faire definition will change. What was laissez-faire? Government was supposed to look at currency, government was supposed to look at defense, and the government was supposed to look at safety, which is police. And government was also supposed to look at infrastructure, public roads and public roads. Today, ladies and gentlemen, people will say, without government, we cannot survive because government is going to look at our health. There is no private sector who can look at our health. And if there is no health, there is no wealth. Therefore, the laissez-faire definition, which you can see in Wikipedia, is going to undergo a change. That's one significant change. The second change, which is going to take place, is regionalization as opposed to globalization. People cannot take a risk of globalization, that I will manufacture in China, pack in India and sell in Europe. No, that's not going to happen. The factories and manufacturing are going to move towards consumption area. Regionalization opposed to globalization. Of course, we can argue till the cows go home. Just for information, as you know, that's 50 to 70% global needs of nickel, copper, iron ore was one country, China, and that is going to change. And that significant monopolistic attitude of one country ruling the earth is going to change. The next one is, we all have studied the concept of just in time, Japanese method of doing business. Material has to come just in time. Tomorrow, we are not going to talk just in time. We will talk just in case, which means risk management. Just in case, if anything happens, if people fall sick, people cannot come to work, if I cannot be in there, if my customer doesn't pay, what do I do? So just in time is going to change into just in case. It's a fact that the shopping concept is going to change, human behavior is going to change. And what will happen is, slowly the world is going to move towards an emergence of herd immunity. As you heard of herd immunity, it's a nation which is immune to this virus. So we will be very happy. As you know, Sweden is working on herd immunity concept. That's a group of people who have been given some pathogens in their body, and then they can fight the virus much better. That's a new thought. And so, if we think that Vietnam has risk and Thailand has risk, people will not go to those countries, and they know India has herd immunity, so we will do business with India and things like that. So the world is going to change the way we are going to behave. The last sentence I'm going to say, it's 4:41, is that, when Jesus came, we went into after Christ and before Christ. The world is now not before Christ, after Christ. It's now before Corona and after Corona. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Robin. I guess we should open it up to questions. Does anybody have a question for Robin?
Yeah, Robin, this is Shyam Narayan here. First of all, I must thank you for a very incisive, talk. Yeah, not a speech. I was going to use the wrong word. And I think you brought up some of your own intuition and your own ability to project the future. Some of that, I'm sure people may not agree, but I think most of it makes sense. My question is in terms of business organizations. I mean, given this COVID thing and the implications which you mentioned very clearly, so how does one protect the profitability? I mean, the turnaround is the second step, but I think that the endeavor of everybody has to be how to protect the profitability, both on the revenue side and on the cost side. So maybe if you can just throw some light from your experience and your judgment, what are the things people will be doing?
I would suggest we do two things. One, profitability means income over expenditure. First focus on not profitability, but on cash surplus. Are you cash positive? So bring the business first to cash positiveness. And that's the biggest and most important challenge. Cash positivity means cash inflow and outflow is positive. Cash inflow is more than cash outflow. Would hopefully turn into a situation of profitability also. For instance, the next 3 months, when the banks have given a moratorium, some businesses will have cash surplus because they don't have to pay money to the bankers by the interest to principal. Fantastic news. Why don't you think India is collapsed? Why don't you see bankruptcies? You don't see, because of one single move, bankers have said, I'm not going to collect my interest and principal for next 3 months. By the way, to my mind, it should be 6 months. Another 3 months is required because this COVID Hawa is not going to go away, and the COVID both. But that's another matter, and I think they would, but they will only do a year at a time. Therefore, once we are cash positive, we survive. And then we talk about profitability. Profitability, I think, is some years away, not years, some months away, some quarters away. In most of the businesses, profitability is quarters away. Let's assume for a moment we are advising a hotel company, let's say a tourist hotel, and let's say Orchid Hotel gives you the mandate that can you turn around a business. I would not look at profitability because there's no hell in hope they will be unprofitable in the next 1 or 2 years. But can they survive? I would first focus on their survival strategy, which is cash positiveness. So what is cash positiveness? Recover all your debtors, defer all your liabilities, which is creditors. Of course, goes without saying profitability will come by reducing cost and maximizing revenue, which I don't need to talk about, but I would guess let's focus on cash positiveness, and then hopefully in few quarters, profitability will also see the day. Yes, one important issue is, of course, that what does my customers want? Like if I'm an Orchid Hotel, I'm again giving an example of hotel because that's the worst affected. Airlines, hotels, and restaurants are the worst affected. And chances are that you will get businesses from those sectors. They will say, now, can you help us to turn around? And that's going to be significantly problematic. What do you turn around? The first thing you have to do, just cut all the cost. Forget it. Forget all cost, which is cash neutral. And income, we have to see what do the customers want, and therefore look at the whole business, sales strategy, marketing strategy, and what is it that we are going to make and produce and serve. So be as it may, that's another story, but I think cash positivity is more important.
Mr. Robin?
Yes, sir.
I have a question. Partha Das Gupta.
Yes, Pastor.
post BC, new BC, the Corona, COVID-19, what we call. Now, what you're talking about is basically change management. My worry is, my concern is that do we have those proper skill sets, talents, leadership skills to manage and guide the businesses to survive? I think there will be a crisis in the top management as to how to manage this crisis. That is a bigger challenge. Any inputs, any ideas to what you are, and your thoughts?
Here we will have to now define crisis as a black swan event, because crisis is something which, like risk is something you can foresee. That foreign exchange going up, coming down, my customers buying, not buying, the buying habits changes, not buying habits changes, but something which you haven't even planned, and that's what has happened in front of us. Mindset change is very important. That a mindset to all of us should have, that we can do it. We can make a hotel survive. People would need hotels, but which hotels will remain and which hotels are going to go away? You will have to decide the way the matrix of the business works. For instance, one change which will take place, all of you, sir, ladies and gentlemen, is lot of businesses work on migrant labor. The migrant labor comes from wherever they don't have to allow them to stay. They dump them like chickens and animals. They stay in one place. One room will have some 30 people, and every year they will go to their homes. This concept of migrant labor business is going to reduce, as opposed to people who are permanent labor who are staying around, which means that the profit which the entrepreneurs used to make out of labor cost will have to now be going down to make some labor more efficient. There has to be a tectonic shift of people having some distances. Government is definitely going to come out with results, come out with guidance. And for instance, Bombay Dharavi will not happen again. So even the government has to think where to put up people. So two things, as I said, I think. One is our thought process has to change as to that we need to do it. And number two, every aspect of business, be it supply, be it production, and be it sales, will have to be looked at de novo when the world is undergoing a change in the consumption habit. Not easy, but to be very difficult. But I think the best is to look at a restaurant or hotel business and think, oh, if I was a hotel owner, what I would have done, and clarity will come then, slowly.
Yes, Mr. Banerjee, this is Amit here, Amit Burman. I just wanted to ask you, in the background of all this disruption that's going to happen, are there any set of skills that the industry, the trade would start to adopt to maybe make themselves more effective to handle this disruption? Do you see any new skills that are, or maybe existing skills that need to be pruned? What's your view on that?
One aspect which industry is going to look at, and entrepreneurs will look at, is approach of resilience. Whoever, many of us by mind we are not resilient. We get perturbed, and some of us nothing happen because we tell them he's a cool man. He's very cool. Cool is nothing about we are resilient. We are okay to changes outside. So we have to become more resilient, and that's something definitely the industry would need. The second point, the ability to think out of box. All that what we have read and all that what we have learned and all that what we hear till now, many of it is no longer true. No longer true. So whoever can think out of box and can move little forward a few steps ahead of competition would definitely do well. But let me tell you, India is going to become the global hub after China, means global hub. This opportunity we must take. And therefore, out-of-the-box thinking and being resilient would become very important.
Robin, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Do you think that there will be new McKinseys which will come up in this future?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. The good news is there is no There are no, every business has large scale, small scale, medium scale business, but there is only one McKinsey large scale. What about mid scale and small scale McKinsey? Who does this? All these entrepreneurs who will be in deep shit trouble go to? Who will, this example of the hotel industry and restaurants, hundreds and thousands and lakhs of restaurants are now gone bust, going bust. Who will they go to? McKinsey? 1 crore rupee per day fees? No, not possible. So there will be hundreds and thousands of mini McKinseys which needs to take place. What is McKinsey? A McKinsey is someone who gives a 360-degree solution. If I go to Ernst & Young or PwC, they will be more tax and accounting driven. No, I don't need that. I need 360 degrees. I need from where to procure, who will procure, what is my HR quality, then what is my manufacturing and technological strategy, who will I sell, how will I sell, what is your legal background. That 360 degrees kaun karega? Huge opportunity for us. Huge, huge, huge. I think the world has changed in favor of you.
Thank you.
This is Sita here from Bangalore.
Hi, Sita.
Hi, Robin. Thank you very much. It's on the whole a very hopeful picture you're painting, Robin, which is better than being a fearful picture. So thank you for that. The question I have really is about the IT industry. It was actually in your losers list. And a couple of the things that I've been sort of thinking about is that one of the factors that have made us resilient in this period of lockdown around the world is the IT industry. You know, the fact that we're actually communicating like this, the fact that we are able to communicate with people we're separated from, and so on. So in many ways, it's proving to be the backbone, and provided, you know, power and everything else exists, it can continue to be a backbone. And so I don't necessarily see it as on the loser list, as you put it, especially because of two other threats that are coming that look to be IT solvable. And one is cybersecurity, really. That was the one thing that kind of popped into my mind. And the other was about the whole data privacy issue, because both of these things are going to become more and more important as the governments take more and more control over each of us as individuals in order to help to stem things around the pandemic. So I guess I'm saying, particularly sitting in Bangalore, I wouldn't necessarily put the IT industry on the loser list, but I wanted to obviously hear your thoughts on that. I can imagine a pivot, but not a loser list. Yeah.
Sita, great point.
Robin?
Yes,
Just thanks, Sita, for taking that up. I just had a optional add-on to the same question on the same thought process. So can I give it to you so that you could answer it?
Please. It's 5:54. I think we have just 5 minutes left.
So as far as the IT sector is concerned, it has an inbuilt resilience factors. Some of the traits, for example, most companies are zero debt in nature, fundamentally working on annuity businesses.
Yeah.
Third is essentially looking at it in the context of a 60+ gross margin kind of areas. And lastly, with the work from home, the whole work from home, you add an addendum to say anywhere. So you're going to see the storing part significantly increasing. So that whole, as a package, to me, I thought it brings in a significant resilience. So that's the reason why I thought your thoughts on why you feel that we are on the loser list there.
Great points, what Sita and Prem have made. There is a plus and a minus for the IT industry. You are absolutely right. Cyber security, the cyber crime is a great opportunity for IT to work on, because cyber crime has already gone up and fraudsters are now in plenty. So that's an area where people will have to work for sure. Why there is a big minus? The big minus is the largest customers are the Europeans and Americans. And their necessity to grow, develop, will significantly go down. So new customers, getting new customers, new growth, will be a big challenge. But will IT not survive? No, of course it will survive. It is not like the hotel industry and airline industry that many will go bust. It is absolutely perfect. It will survive, but will it continue to grow the way it does? Unlikely.